follow the law just like any other person would. We can't be like, oh, we protect our own. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And there have been cases here in America where people wouldn't turn over, Fremis wouldn't turn over.
Yeah, people who wanted for child molestation.
I wasn't going to go there. I was going to say the famous case in my mind.
Okay.
In Square Town,
Yeah.
which is a Hasidic village outside of New York City. There were allegations and an arrest warrant for a number of Square Hasidim
Yeah.
who were wanted for tax evasion, serious tax evasion, not like $5, millions of dollars of tax evasion, laundering money, to get the money to put into the yeshivas in Square. So it was for a good purpose, but the Torah says if you steal, right, and any mitzvahs that come from stealing don't count as mitzvahs anyways, right? You can't steal money. You can't steal someone's lulav and shake it. Look at me, I did lulav.
Yeah.
I can't steal Levi's tefillin and put it on and get a mitzvah for it. So what do? The cops came, the FBI came, and the Square Town, you guys can look this up, if it should be on the internet, set up a roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was in the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Or this was like in 1998, 99.
Mm-hmm.
It should be on the internet.
Yeah.
And they said, you remember this story?
Vaguely.
Okay, they set up a roadblock. They took buses and they parked it at the road, at the entrance into the town, so that the FBI couldn't get through. They barricaded it.
Yeah.
Then the Hasidim drove around with big bullhorns in Yiddish telling everybody, do not cooperate with the FBI. When the FBI rolls in, they're going to get in here eventually. We're not going to allow them in, and no one's going to talk to them, and don't help them out at all.
Yeah.
Okay? This is the opposite of halacha. This is mamish the opposite of halacha. This should have never happened. I said this is a terrible chilul Hashem. I was so angry at the time. This goes back further than 1998, I think. Just a little bit before that.
Didn't Bill Clinton pardon some of these rabbis?
Okay, we're going to get into that.
To help Hillary
On the
Clinton get elected
yes,
to the
we're going
Senate.
we're going to get into that. That's why it was before 2000, but I think it was 1998. Square does hashgacha. And I remember I was so disgusted at it. There was orange juices that were made with Square hashgacha. Do you remember this?
No.
And stuff. I won't drink it. I boycotted everything that had to do with Square. I don't want to give these people money because I think this is the biggest chilul Hashem that ever happened in America up until that point. Because basically said is, we look at you, the Goyim, as a terrible country, right? And we're not going to cooperate with you. And, all these people were doing was Torah and mitzvahs, and you're not going to take these people away and put them in Siberia. And it was like, guys, we're not living in Soviet Union anymore. We're in America. And these people are criminals. And you have an achrayus to get rid of them. And you've done a terrible, this whole thing. Like, everybody in the town, nobody had a job. You know about this? They were all on welfare. They're all on welfare, and everybody was going to yeshiva and everything, right? And 4 of them got arrested eventually, and they got put in prison.
Yeah.
And then on the last day of Clinton's presidency, Clinton
pardoned some of them.
He gave clemency.
Yeah.
He reduced the sentences on the 4, right?
Yeah.
And then he left office, right? Then it came out that Hillary Clinton couldn't buy a vote from the Fremis when she ran for New York Senate that year.
Mm-hmm.
In 2000, she couldn't buy a vote. However, she won the entire Square Town.
Yeah.
The entire Square Town had voted for Hillary Clinton. That entire village voted for Hillary Clinton. Not one person deviated. New Square. So people are like, well, how did that happen? So then it came out that a representative from New Square was on the guest list and had been in the White House to meet with President Clinton. Right? And this was he went down there, signed the guest list, right? And obviously it was a quid pro quo.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is?
Yeah.
What is a explain what that is.
Quid pro quo. Well, in exchange for pardoning these rabbis, we will deliver our community's votes for your way.
Exactly. And so, 4,000, or whatever, it's 4 million Jews, whatever, I don't know how many people live in Square Town, but they came out and they all voted that day for Hillary Clinton, and then, Clinton made good on his deal, and he gave clemency the same time he gave it to Mark Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought the whole thing was a huge chilul Hashem. So the halacha is, as I explained, right? What's the halacha, Levi?
That with a basically decent country, you follow the laws of the land and you turn over Jewish wrongdoers to the secular authorities.
And then you go and you do a after you turn them over, then you go see the president and you get clemency for them by promising them votes.
I don't remember that in the halacha.
That's what we learned from all this, right? You turn them over, they go to prison, then you get some corrupt politician in office, and you get them out. All right, so that's the story. I hope that answers it, Brett, if you're watching on replay.
So LSU has a total of 68 yards, and we're in the fourth quarter, but they just got the first down. I think it's only their third first down of the game.
Wasn't the story when they played each other the first time it was very low scoring?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Now it's 15-0.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this beautiful painting by Edwin Long in 1886. Represents when Pharaoh's daughter rescues Moses from
Can I ask
the
a
water.
question? If there wasn't any nudes in this, would we be looking at it?
See, the answer would be no.
Thank you.
So, my own rescue has happened similarly when a pack of nubile babes descend upon me as I take a swim. Me and Moses, we really have a lot in common.
Okay.
So I just wanted to share that. Do you have anything else before I start the Parsha?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so this week it's Torah portion Shemot, Exodus, first 6 chapters.
Yeah, I notice you're not sitting in a chair. There's no such thing as a good chair.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of sitting on this stool.
Okay.
So Rabbi Beryl Wine writes, we hear nothing regarding Moses for the next 60 years after he leaves Egypt until he re-emerges as a shepherd in Midian, married to the daughter of Yitro, the local religious chief who at this time is still a pagan. Hardly the resume that one would expect for the leader of Israel, the greatest of all prophets and the teacher of all humankind. So many of the great leaders of the Jewish people have wandered in a wilderness for years, consorting with pagans. For instance, I know this one blogger who was lost in the San Fernando Valley for more than a decade, and then he emerged from there, consorting with pagans, and he became a moral leader.
They're very comparable. Yeah, good comparison.
So where did Moshe's holiness and greatness stem from? How was it developed? Who were his mentors? And what were his experiences over those long decades of separation from his people? No, these words were not written about me, but about Moshe. So the Torah gives us no clue or answer to these questions. It effectively points out that greatness oftentimes comes from unexpected sources, from people and leaders who operate outside of the usual establishment circles. So there were two Jews on a subway, and one Jew asked the other for the time, and the guy who was asked for the time does not answer. So the first Jew keeps pestering him, said, "Why won't you answer?" Second Jew says, "Well, I knew that if I finally answered, we'd start a conversation, and eventually you'd want to marry my daughter. And I don't want my daughter to marry a guy who doesn't have a watch." Isn't that a great Jewish story? Because like the wise man, he sees like the consequences.
Yeah, and he already knows that the guy's going to ask to marry his daughter. I think it's like a paranoid schizophrenic. Why would the guy on a total stranger say, "I want to marry on the subway. I want to marry your daughter"? That's what he was really thinking. He's a nutcase.
Well, a wise person kind of sees what happens.
He's not a wise person. He's like you. He thinks he's a thinker, but he's a nut. Go ahead, next one. Wait, before that, can I answer Abe's question from before? Because he asked a question in the chat room before, and we said when we get to the parsha, we'll get to it.
How was Joseph able to promise his father Jacob confidentially that he wouldn't be buried in Egypt before Joseph asked permission from Pharaoh?
Wait, say that a little slower. Let me read it myself. How was Joseph able to promise his father Jacob confidently that he won't be buried in Egypt even before he asked permission from Pharaoh? Well, I mean, I can look it up and get like the exact answer for that, but I can just answer blah blah blah.